Hey, John.
We're all trying on Evan's pack here.
Are you holding it?
Feeling the misery that must come with carrying that thing. Morning. It's day 61 of the hike, September 18th. Actually has some blue skies. Although it is a little cold today. There's a cold front that's going to be in the area for the next 2 to 3 days. Temperatures will be around 50 for the highs. So it's windy, a little chilly, but hiking keeps you warm. So it's not cold enough that I need to layer up beyond that. But yesterday we did about 19 miles. I caught a hitch into town with a guy and his groomsman. He was actually getting married that day, and they were celebrating and decided to pick up a hitchhiker on their way to the wedding venue. So that was cool. But Quincy was a neat little town. There was actually a store in town that gave free ice cream to hikers. Great little brewery with really good food. We stayed at a small hotel called the Gold Pan Lodge that had an amazing collection of DVDs. So we actually ended up watching Click last night. Real tear jerker. Got pizza, a resupply, and we're back out on the trail here this morning. It's actually going on noon right now, but we're shooting for about 25 miles today. Hoping that the rain that comes later helps to quell the mosquito fire that's ahead of us. So keep you monitored on that. Feels like the first time in a while we've seen blue skies without much haze. It must just be the way the wind's blowing, but coming out of Quincy here, things are looking up for the day. It's not as rainy as we had expected. It rained a little bit this morning, but it actually hasn't rained on us since we've been hiking. Great views from Lookout Rock. Although it does look like we're going back into a little bit of burn here. Crossing a really, really pretty bridge over the middle fork of the Feather River. And oh my goodness, do I wish. I've been very glad it's not hot today for hiking, but this swimming hole down below the bridge is so incredibly epic. I mean, it's 50 degrees. I'm not going to jump in there, but there's a boulder right in the center, and then this pool behind it. It might be, it looks like it's 10 to 12 feet deep. Oh my gosh, it was so much fun. It's too bad it's not at this moment at least, there wasn't a brief spell of mid-80s, 90-degree weather. We've had plenty of that. That would be a good time. Nice spot for a lunch break, even if it is drizzling a little bit. It's September 19th, and we are hiking in the rain. Genuinely for the first time. At least this kind of rain. That is all I have to report for this morning. So this is actually the first day I've been fully geared up. Actually did not anticipate having this cold of weather with this kind of rain till we got the Sierras potentially. So I didn't even have rain pants prior to our stop back in Quincy. So just had to kind of make do with what was available, and I found these fairly light rain gear work pants at the local hardware store, and doing wonders keeping me warm right now. It's got to be probably in the 40s, and right now it's misting, lightly raining, but it's been raining on and off the entire morning, and forecast is the same for the rest of the day. Just trying to stay warm. It's one of those days where I'm probably just going to keep moving until I get to camp. So, but maybe things will clear up. This is silver lining though. Great news really for the West Coast and this area. in Northern California. Should hopefully help extinguish the mosquito fire. Certainly not the clear blue skies we're used to, but all the trees within sight are living. That's a change. Seem to be lucking out. Dense cloud cover, but we haven't had any rain since maybe 10 a.m. It's chilly, but we're on a really beautiful climb right now. Getting close to the top. So thrilled to be walking through lush green forest. So many beautiful lakes from one perspective here. It is raining again. That hasn't totally obscured our vision. Even the rain clouds are fascinating and have their own sort of beauty. Morning. It's Tuesday, September 20th. Day 63 of the hike. Last night got a little miserable. Towards the end of the day, it got cold and started raining heavier. Fortunately, I was able to make it to camp fairly early, around like 5 o'clock, and get set up. It was raining while I set up, and kind of everything was a little wet from the night before, tent and whatnot. My quilt, I keep in a liner in the bottom of my pack. That you want to keep as dry as possible, obviously. You don't want down to get wet, or else it won't insulate anymore. It insulates via the loft of the little down feathers. So anyhow, the others didn't make it to the camp that we had planned on last night, which I can't blame them. I imagine it started getting cold, windy, and rainy not long after I set up camp. So they probably set up a little early. Try to get a hold of them, text them today, and have some service to see where they're at. I'm sure we'll be able to meet back up again, but anyhow, it's a long, rainy night. Stayed relatively dry on my tent. Some water seeped in to the bottom, but I'm on an inflatable pad, so I was away from the puddle that formed at the base. So most tents end up taking in some water somewhere. I don't know exactly where mine did. Maybe along some of the seams or something, but I put it on a slant, a downhill slant, so that all the water puddled at the end of the tent. So I stayed dry and warm. But anyhow, it's about 6:15. Yesterday we did about 32 miles, shooting for about another 32 today. Along the way, I might go into the small town of Sierra City, warm up for a second and grab a bite to eat. But tomorrow then, that should leave us with a longer day in Truckee, where I've got new shoes waiting, and hopefully we'll get some rest in town and some good food and resupply. So just got a little service on top of the ridge. The cold front that came in and caused all this rain and unseasonably low temperatures is supposed to linger through tomorrow. So today, weather update, there's a significant chance for more rain this afternoon. Looks like we might have a little window of no rain this morning, but fingers crossed. Mid-afternoon, it's predicted to end, and as far as I can see on my app, it doesn't look like it's going to rain overnight, which would be really nice. And I don't have to deal with puddles and dripping and all sorts of things. So hoping for that. Yesterday I really hiked pretty fast, trying to beat the rain. Actually got 32 miles in by about 5 p.m. with about 10.5 hours of hiking or so. So it's averaging about 3 miles an hour. Still gonna go fast today, try to get into town, get a bite to eat, warm up for a second and get out and still get 30 miles done by the end of the day. But I won't have the pressure of getting, hopefully, if that weather prediction holds true, getting into camp before it starts raining. Now, I did read that there's going to be some clearing overnight. Clouds tend to kind of modulate temperatures. So if it does clear overnight, the lows are going to be significantly lower, maybe down in the 20s. So I actually see that as a good test because the Sierras, and all that's involved with high elevation, including low overnight temps, is coming up fast. So this will be a good test of my sleeping system. My bag is comfortably rated to 30. It's an Enlightened Equipment Revelation with a lower limit around, I think, 20 or 19 or something. I've slept in bags that are lower limits before and been okay. I'm a warm sleeper. But I have other things, merino wool, leggings, a fleece upper, so some base layers to add into my sleep system and keep me a little bit warmer. So we'll see if I get to be freezing into the night. I'll get up and start hiking, and I'll know that I need to change some things before the Sierras. I am probably going to get a puffy jacket, a down puffy jacket before the Sierras, just for a little bit of extra, more layering and extra peace of mind in case we do get some exceptionally cold weather. Things are pretty this morning without the rain. Descending, actually going to a campground that has a pit toilet. I actually considered hiking to that campground last night so I could sleep in the pit toilet and be out of the rain. Believe me, wet stuff absolutely sucks. It adds weight to your pack. It doesn't dry throughout the day if you have a day like this where it's not going to be sunshine and warm temperatures. So when you open it up or unpack your tent later in the evening, it's just as wet as when you pack it. So we shall see. Tremendous campsite here. This reminds me of some bridge walks and descents in the Cascades. Got the deep valley here. It's a switchback trail going down through it. It's quite windy and cold. Here's a really neat view of the kind of towns that we often go into on this hike. So we're just surrounded by the northern Sierras here. And down tucked into this deep gorge is the small town of Sierra City. It used to be a mining town. Now it has a general store, a restaurant, and looks like the population can't be more than a couple hundred. It's really cool. I hope that the general store is still open and I can maybe catch a short hitch into town. I think it's only about a 1.5 mile walk from the trailhead, but hey, any fewer miles counts towards something out here. Hello, it's Wednesday, September 21st, day 64 on trail. So yesterday was an interesting day. I got about 16 miles in by noon, went into the tiny, very cool little town of Sierra City. The city part is kind of ironic because it's one of the tiniest towns we've been on trail so far. But anyhow, I had plans of just going in, getting lunch, continuing on the trail. But got into town. I had no idea where the rest of the group was, including Evan, Frank and Kelly, and Sniff, who's been hiking with us. Figured out that Frank and Kelly had to get off trail because the day prior, where it was cold and rainy all day, they were struggling a little bit. So they got off trail, went back into town to warm up. Evan and I had no idea what had happened until the very end of the day. So I sat in town waiting for Sniff to get there. So I at least had a hand on a little bit of what was going on. Sniff got there in the mid-afternoon when it was starting to thunderstorm and rain. So we ended up staying the night at a old Sierra City motel. Awesome, old historic hotel and bar that man who moved from the Bay Area, San Francisco, took over a couple years ago and is really working towards making it a great place for hikers to stay. Cool little town, general store, had a lot to eat. Evan didn't end up showing up until about 8. Reason being is there's a thunderstorm and he had to turn around at the top of the ridge prior to the descent into town, go back to a campground and hike out the road to a highway. And he actually got a hitch from a sheriff into Sierra City. So he didn't get until late. Anyhow, we hiked out this morning, Sniff and I. I don't know when Evan's gonna hike out today, but I'll stay in touch, communicate, hopefully get linked back up. Shooting for hopefully over 30 miles a day. It's still cold, raining a little bit. But the plan is to get into Truckee tomorrow night. So I'm here at about 8,000 feet, and this is the first I'm getting snowed on trail. It's kind of like a mix right now, but it's converting to snow. I'll be coming down elevation really shortly though, so we'll see here. Hopefully I'll drop down in the trees soon. Taking cover. Probably less than 5 miles left until we get to a rest area on Interstate 80. And Sniff's parents actually, in the Seattle area, got an Airbnb in Truckee. So this was really the plan for today, but given the weather and how cold it is, we just decided to push some bigger miles, get into town, get warm tonight, enjoy ourselves a little bit more. I think it'll end up being about 38 miles in the day.
They're going to be 47 miles from South Lake.
Yeah, that's a good idea, actually.
Yeah.
I'm sure it gets...
Shit, is that the composition toilet over here?
That's a beauty if it is. So this is actually usually open, but it's just the Sierra Club's policy with COVID. That's awesome. The howl of the interstate. getting to I-80. Nice and late here, past dark. We'll meet Smith's parents at the rest stop and get a ride to town. Christmas on trail again here. My current shoes wet and soaked and beat and have 800 miles on them.